You know, sometimes life feels so perfect, it's almost suspicious, like you're standing in a dream, afraid that one wrong step might wake you up. That was my life, or at least, that's what I believed. Every morning, I woke up to soft light streaming through the curtains, the smell of fresh coffee drifting from the kitchen, and Ethan's voice humming some tune he never quite remembered the words to. It was simple, peaceful, almost too good to question. We had our little rituals. He'd pour my coffee first, always with 2 sugars, just the way I liked. And I'd make his toast slightly burnt because he said it tasted more real that way. Small things, but they stitched together the rhythm of our life. It wasn't perfect because it was grand. It was perfect because it was ours. A stable job, a cozy apartment filled with laughter and plans, and a partner who, to me, was the definition of loyalty. Ethan, my best friend, my love, my biggest supporter. We met in the most ordinary way, through a friend at a coffee shop. Nothing dramatic, no sparks flying across the room, just a quiet moment that turned into 1,000 more. What started as small talk about books, coffee, and life soon turned into long walks, midnight calls, and promises whispered under the moonlight. He used to say, "No matter what happens, I'll always be honest with you." And I believed him. Oh, how deeply I believed him. Sometimes I look back and wonder, was it faith or was it blindness? Because when you love someone, truly love them, you don't just see who they are, you see who you want them to be. You build a version of them in your heart, a version so perfect, so pure, that reality starts to fade behind it. Our life together felt like a movie where nothing could go wrong. We had plans, real ones, future vacations, a small business we dreamed of starting, maybe even a family someday. We had names picked out for our kids, vision boards taped to our bedroom wall, promises to grow old together, gray hair, wrinkled hands, slow dances in the kitchen. Everything seemed certain, stable, safe. But life isn't a movie. It doesn't follow scripts or happy endings. And sometimes, the people who smile the widest are the ones hiding the deepest secrets. The first crack appeared on an ordinary Wednesday. You know, the kind of day you barely remember, when everything feels routine, predictable. But that's the thing about truth. It doesn't announce itself with thunder. It whispers. It started with something small. A forgotten call, a half answer, a strange tone in his voice. I asked, "Everything okay?" He smiled, but his eyes shifted away. "Yeah, just work stuff," he said. And I wanted to believe him. But when you love someone, you learn their rhythm, the way they breathe, the way they move, the silence between their words. And when that rhythm changes, your heart knows, even before your mind does. I tried to brush it off, told myself, "No, you're overthinking." Ethan wouldn't lie. Not him, because love has a way of silencing logic. You hear the alarms, but you turn the volume down. Still, I started noticing things. Tiny, almost invisible shifts. Late-night texts, the kind that made him tilt the phone away. Sudden plans that couldn't be explained. A new cologne. A new habit of checking his phone twice before leaving a room. Little things. So small, they could have meant nothing. But together, they painted a picture I didn't want to see. And yet, I stayed quiet. Because when you're happy, or desperate to seem happy, you tell yourself stories. Stories to protect your peace. Maybe he's just stressed. Maybe it's work. Maybe it's all in my head. But deep down, a tiny voice whispered, "Something's wrong." And that voice, the one you try to silence, It grows louder when ignored. At night, when the world fell silent and his breathing steadied beside me, I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, wondering why peace now felt like pretending. Because the truth, it doesn't stay hidden forever. It waits patiently until you're strong enough or broken enough to see it. I didn't know it then, but the world I thought was perfect was already starting to crack. And soon, the truth behind those cracks would reveal a reality I never imagined. You see, love can build you, but it can also blind you. And sometimes the hardest part of betrayal is colleagues. And when he reached across the table to hold her hand, my world, the perfect world I'd built, finally shattered. I walked away. No confrontation, no scene. Because sometimes silence is stronger than fury. That night, I sat in our kitchen, staring at his chair, and I knew what I had to do. I wouldn't shout. I wouldn't beg. I'd let him believe his lies were safe, realizing the person you trusted most was the one who built your illusion. It started with a name, Mara. Just one word on a glowing screen, flashing late at night. He was in the kitchen, typing fast, smiling to himself. It wasn't the smile of a man reading an email. It was softer, secretive. When I walked in, he quickly locked his phone. "Who's that?" I asked casually. "Just a client," he said, too quickly. His eyes flickered, a spark of guilt I almost missed. I nodded, but my heart whispered, "He's lying." For days, I tried to silence that whisper. I made excuses for him, for us. But truth doesn't vanish. It waits. And soon, I began to see the signs everywhere. He stayed late at work. He wore new shirts. He carried a fragrance that wasn't mine. He started laughing less with me and smiling more at his phone. Love teaches you patterns, and I knew ours was breaking. Still, I said nothing. Because I needed more than suspicion. I needed proof. And proof came in the smallest form, a receipt. That Friday, he kissed my forehead, told me he was leaving for a 3-day business trip. "Big client meeting," he said. I wished him luck, smiled, but my heart ached. Hours later, as I folded laundry, something slipped from his jacket pocket, a receipt from a restaurant downtown. The date, today. The time, 7:45 p.m. I looked at the clock, 8 o'clock. He'd just called, saying he was exhausted from travel. But travel where? He hadn't gone anywhere. That receipt became my awakening. I didn't confront him, not yet. I placed it in a drawer and stared into the mirror. My reflection wasn't weak, it was ready. I whispered to myself, "If he's lying, I'll find out." Not with anger, but with truth. Because justice doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. And mine was just beginning. Over the next week, I watched. Every detail, every call, every change in his tone. I memorized his schedule, learned his patterns, noted his lies. Then one evening, I followed him. He left at 6, dressed sharp, cologne lingering. I waited a moment, then quietly trailed behind. The restaurant was warm, golden lit, full of laughter. I stood by the window, heart pounding, and there he was, sitting across from her. Mara. I didn't know her name yet, but I saw the way she looked at him, and the way he looked back. Familiar, tender, the way he used to look at me. My chest tightened, but I didn't cry. I watched, silent, unseen, as they shared a meal meant for lovers. While I built the truth around him. Slowly, smartly, patiently, I began gathering evidence, not out of vengeance, but clarity. Messages, receipts, patterns. I learned her name, her workplace, their routine. The more I uncovered, the calmer I became. Because knowing the truth is power. and I would use it wisely. I began to distance myself, subtly. Fewer questions, softer smiles, letting him think he was winning his secret game. But behind that calm exterior, I was planning. Justice, not chaos. One evening, he came home cheerful, humming, trying to kiss me like nothing was wrong. I smiled back, my first real act of revenge. He had no idea the ground beneath him was shifting. Weeks later, I invited him for dinner. Candlelight, his favorite dish, soft music. He was relaxed, unaware. Halfway through the meal, I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. A recording of his voice, laughing, whispering, calling her my love. His smile vanished. His fork froze midair. Silence filled the room. "How long?" I asked softly. He stammered, tried to explain, but every word fell apart under the weight of truth. I didn't shout. I simply said, "You built this lie. Now live with it." And I walked away, leaving him alone in the home we once called ours. In the weeks that followed, I rebuilt myself. Slowly, deliberately. I focused on my dreams, my career, the things I had abandoned to keep us afloat. He tried reaching out, calls, messages, apologies, but I was already gone. My silence became his mirror, reflecting every lie he'd told. Justice came not from hurting him, but from watching him lose the one person who believed in him. When people asked what happened, I smiled and said, "I uncovered the truth, and the truth took care of the rest." Because revenge isn't always loud or cruel. Sometimes it's quiet, graceful, and brilliantly planned. And the sweetest justice? Living free, honest, and at peace, while they drown in their own deception. I learned that love built on lies isn't love at all. It's illusion. And the moment you see through it, you're free. So if you ever find yourself doubting, listen to that whisper. It's not paranoia. It's your heart trying to save you. I uncovered his lies. And justice, it came in the smartest way.